Okay, so today I'm going to be doing an updated eyebrow tutorial because I get a lot of people asking me how I do my brows, and I have changed my technique and the products that I use to do my brows over the last couple of years, so I thought it would be a good time to just refresh this technique and this type of video for those who want it, and if you don't want it, enjoy it regardless, and if you do want it, you're welcome. Before I used to do my brows, they looked a bit ugly, where they're like James Charles Sharpie brows, not a cute moment. Y'all lied to me and said that they were cute and they weren't, and they were way too dark. So nowadays, I just use a brow pencil instead of a pomade. It's easier to control. My brows are a little bit more precise, like I want them, and they're much lighter. I do have a heavy hand, that fixes it. Also, I like to carve out my brows, typically with a concealer or an eyeshadow base, and I'm gonna give you some little opinions and techniques when it comes to that. So if you need some help with your brows, this will be the video for you. So let's get started. Okay, so for me, I always like to do my brows before my foundation for multiple reasons. More than anything, if I mess them up, I can just wipe them away with my finger, do one of those movements. But if I already have my foundation, you can't do that, obviously. So what we're gonna do is take our brow pencil. This is the ABH Brow Wiz. This is in the shade medium brown. I used to use dark brown and now I use medium because we know what we're doing. So most brow pencils have both a spoolie and the brow product. If it doesn't, just get a separate spoolie. So what you're gonna do first is spoolie up your brow hairs, up and out. I buzz mine because I have very full brows, so I don't really have anything to spoolie, but we're gonna do it anyway for the purposes of this video. So spoolie them up and out, and we're gonna start by lining the bottom. So what you're gonna do is just kind of fill in the sparse areas and give them the shape. So if you have very thin brows, this is where you're going to create the shape. If your brows are naturally, or in my case, waxed to be the kind of shape that you want, other than this one, you're just gonna kind of go along the bottom line of them. You never really want to go all the way under and like create your own line if they're already shaped how you want. So just kind of follow along with the line that you have. So just start right in the front very lightly and just kind of go along your line. And right here, I just like to go down just a smidgen. But again, if you go down too far, we're gonna clean it up with concealer anyway, but you can use your finger if you need. So just kind of trace the line. And then for me, I like to extend the tail just a little. Not too crazy, but just a little bit, especially because this one kind of goes further than this brow. Now, if you did have full brows, like I don't currently have, this is when you're gonna brush them downwards and out of the way so that you can see your actual brow line. And then you're gonna do the exact same thing. Start at the very beginning, very lightly, because you want that ombre effect, and just start shaping them and mapping them out. Take it down, and you just kind of want to meet at the tail. So now at first you're kind of like, that looks a bit too long, but it is. But we have the shape that we want, but that's okay, because again, we're gonna clean them up. But even so, before I clean them up, since I'm doing brows first, I can literally go, and just kind of wipe away that sharp tail where it extended too much. And look at that. It's gone. And then you can just kind of make it pointy again if you need. But yeah, just shortened it in literally a half a second. Now what you're gonna do is either switch to a pomade to fill them in, which I don't do, or just use your brow pencil and just go through your brows and just start back and forth, just filling them in. I always take it to about right there. I don't go all the way forward, and I'll show you why in a second. But we're gonna just fill them in as much as we need, and then we're gonna brush through them. So I hear, as you can see in the corner right there, it's kind of a bump. We'll fix all that here in a second. So just fill them in. Now when I get to the front, this is where I do fill it in a little bit, but I just leave it for last so I can be extra attentive to it, and very, very lightly fill it in, and then I go to the front and I flick it upwards. Now what you're gonna do is take the spoolie end and just start brushing through your hairs. This is just gonna make sure that your product is all blended together very, very nicely. It makes the brow a little bit more solidly colored in. We're gonna go with that, solidly colored in, and just look really, really nice. So it goes from like looking a little patchy a little bit to just blended and perfect without being too much. So you still kind of have like that natural brow look, but it's much more structured. That's the look that I go for. A filled in, nicely structured brow without looking like you painted them on. So once you've brushed through all of your brow hairs, like so, and you're like, wow, that looks pretty beautiful. Since we're doing them before, you can just take your finger and kind of like go along it if you need to kind of shape them a little bit more. So like that bump is already gone, because just like that. But if you want to use concealer to really carve them out, which we're going to do here in a second, I'm gonna give you some tips on that. So this is the point where when you're doing your brows, it kind of matters whether you do them before or after foundation. If I do my brows before foundation, I will use concealer that's typically lighter to carve out my brow underneath and then kind of blend it out. And I can go around it and blend it out because then I'm putting foundation on top of it and it's going to cover up any of that brightness above my brow. If you have your foundation done already and then you go to carve your brows and you like to carve them all the way around with a concealer that's lighter, you're gonna get this weird kind of like halo, like outline of your brow, and it's gonna look very, very weird. So if you wanna save yourself some time, some steps, do your brows first. That way you can either wipe away or you can conceal all the way around them. No biggie, you're gonna cover it up with foundation anyway. But if you do your brows after foundation, carve your brow underneath with your concealer or your base because you're gonna blend it onto your lid anyway. And then when you're carving above your brow, use the color of your foundation. Because that way when you're carving it out, you're still getting that precision and that clean line that you want, but it's gonna blend into your foundation on your forehead. See, lighter down here where there's no foundation, darker up here where it matches your foundation, and that line will just blend right in. You're welcome. So what I like to do is take a very small brush like this, it's very, very small, and then take a little bit of your concealer or base, whatever you want, put a little bit on the back of your hand. You literally don't need much typically. And then I'm just going to coat both sides of it just so there's a nice amount and it doesn't drag much. And all we're gonna do is kind of at an angle, just go along it and clean it up. So just very, very lightly. Follow the line, up and around. It takes 2 seconds. Okay, so as you can see, I traced the bottom of it. Now again, this is where, since I have no foundation on, I would take the same color and I would go around the top and go around just like you did the bottom. But if you have foundation on already, this is where you're gonna take the same type of brush, but take your foundation color and just go around it like you did the bottom. Now for me, I'm not gonna carve out the top of my brow because it's already pretty dang perfect. So then all you're gonna do is take a brush or a damp little mini beauty sponge and blend out that product. So I'm just gonna take a tiny little dense brush like this, and this is where we're just gonna start stamping it to blend it out. Normally I actually use a damp beauty sponge, but me being, so professional, don't even have one at my table at the moment because I forgot. It takes 2 seconds whether you use a brush or a sponge, and it's not gonna disturb the product, like it's not gonna go up into your brow, but just blend it out, make it perfect. And this is where if you wanted to, you could bring the base down if you used a bit more onto your lid, just to prime your lid, but we didn't use a ton because we didn't need to. And as you can see, it's very, very sharp, it's precise, it's exactly what we want, it's beautiful, and this method just gives you that natural brow look without being too much, you know what I mean? Like some people want that Sharpie Instagram baddie brow, and that's fine. I prefer just a more natural structured brow. I just think it looks best on me. So we went from this to this, and literally it takes you about 2 minutes max. Like I talk a lot, so it takes longer in this video, but literally if you just do it, it takes 2 minutes. Okay, so you just got done creating the most beautiful, flawless, sharp, snatched brows in literally only a couple minutes using a brow pencil. So to make sure that they stay in place and your beautiful work does not get interrupted throughout the day, just take any type of clear brow gel. This one is from NYX Cosmetics. It's their Control Freak Clear Brow Gel. Just looks like this. And all you're gonna do is just brush it through your brow hairs and make sure that you're going in the direction of the hair and just lay them flat wherever you have them. But now you have the most beautiful sculpted brows that you've always dreamed of, and it was much easier than you thought, wasn't it? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you can now create your own snatched brows like this. Let me know what you think, but that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please make sure you give it a big thumbs up down below. Click that big red subscribe button to join my YouTube family. Turn on my video post notifications by clicking that bell icon and switching it to all. And I thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have the day you deserve.